friends, I'm here in Papa's space. Oh, there's Daisy. There's Daisy. She's always been a little shy. Her whole heart was for Papa. Anyhow, I've put some more stuffies in here for her. Hello, I see those ears. I see those ears. Can anybody else see those ears? Hello, darling. You want a treat, or are you still full from breakfast? Huh? Yeah, come here. Come on. Come on, lovely. So, I know that a lot of us, we're always trying to we're always trying to understand why the bunnies get sick and what happens. So I thought I'd just talk briefly about Papa as things happened, in the interest that we learn something. Of course, I'm mostly feeling like what I could have done differently, but I don't know, I think we tend to think like that, thinking we could have, should have done more. So of course, I was quite busy with Dawa Moon the previous week, but taking care of all the other bunnies, about 10 others. And I just noticed that Papa was slightly off, but he was still eating, and the water was going down less. So he has this big kind of double pan crate with Daisy, and the water was going down less. But sometimes with their drinking, sometimes they drink a lot, sometimes less. So I was, I just noticed it seemed there wasn't as much drinking going on. And I also thought he was just a little flat. But with Papa, because he'd had such a hard life and he was such a big lumbering bunny anyway, again, I wasn't overly concerned. I was just noticed and keeping an eye. I always felt he was, a very old soul, and a bit like a survivor of prisoner of war, so he had a lot of joy in his life, but his body had been through a lot. So then, let's see what happened. Yeah, so in the days leading up, he was a bit flat, and normally he'd be super enthusiastic for his food, and him and Daisy would be all like, woohoo, and I'd bring in the greens, and Daisy would be woohoo, and Papa would be like over here somewhere, and I'd like throw a bit of lettuce at him and say, Papa, come and get your lettuce, Daisy's going to eat it, and I'd throw a bit of lettuce at him, and he'd be like, oh, right, yeah, lettuce, oh yeah, okay, let's do that. And so, anyway, but that was kind of Papa. Then on Sunday morning, he didn't want his pellets. And so, of course, that's not a good sign at all. I couldn't get him to eat his pellets. And I had an event to go to, all morning, early afternoon event. So I thought, well, do I go? What do I do? It's an event we had planned for a very long time. And as I was trying to figure out what I would do, I saw him drink water. He started drinking some water, which I hadn't actually seen him drink water for a while. And I thought, oh, okay, well, he's drinking water. And he wasn't like loafed, when that typical stasis position. So he drank some water. I thought, okay, I'm going to go to where I'm going. And then when I got back and I discovered him at 4 p.m., he was, I posted that video, he had that head tilt. So then, clearly he's sick. 4 p.m. Sunday. I started him on the Pancur, is that how you say it, and the oxybenzole, and I also gave him some antibiotic. And then a bit later, I got myself sorted out, and I gave him some sub-Qs. And when I picked him up for these, so it was a bit later by the time I gave him all this, and I set it up in the kitchen, the sub-Qs, and as I was carrying him, and I was like, what's that smell? and it's this really like foul smell. And it turned out it was his breath. He had really, really, really bad breath, halitosis. So I was like freaked out. I mean, I knew that was not a good sign of anything. So gave him the subcus, the medicines, and then I decided to take his temperature, and that's when I discovered he had a temperature of 106, which I know is dangerously high, an emergency high. So this was Sunday evening by this time, and rightly or wrongly, I did not want to separate from him. I didn't want to take him to Angel and be told to leave him, and the possibility of him dying, and I wasn't with him, and I just felt very strongly I did not want to do that. So I did everything I could to try and get his temp down that night. I stayed up with him till like 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and I was putting water on his ears and blowing on his ears, and then I got a tub and I put ice packs in it, wrapped in little tea towels, and I put him in there with the ice packs on him. Took him outside with the ice packs, sitting under the stars at 3 a.m. and his temp wouldn't come down. So I knew I had to take him to the vet, but I was also exhausted. So I went to bed for 3 hours, and then I woke up at 8 and came down, and his breathing was more labored, and his breathing was pretty labored. So then I went straight to the vet. I mean, anyway, then we're off to Angel now, and Angel West, and they take him straight back, and I ask if I can stay with him, and they say, well, let us do a few things, and then they say, well, you can't really come back in the ICU. And I said, look, please, I need to stay with him, and I'll just be really clear and calm and quiet, and I need to stay with him. So they let me come back. He was in oxygen, put him in the oxygen chamber at 35-40% oxygen. They gave him some sedation, and they gave him a stronger pain relief. So then they didn't want to take x-rays straight away because they wanted him to settle a little bit. But they did say, did I want to do a ultrasound to see if to see about his heart and lungs. So I said sure. So we did the ultrasound, and there was no fluid on his lung or his heart, his lungs or heart. So they ruled out then whatever that rules out, the fluid around his lungs and hearts. And then they still didn't decide to do x-rays then, and soon after they said, well, the cardiologist here could look at his heart. So I said sure. So they did an echo, and he wasn't in heart failure. It ruled out, well, extremely unlikely. They never say ruled out, but extremely unlikely. And then some time between all of this, and then they say, well, I think we'll do x-rays. So they asked me to wait in the waiting room. So excuse me, I did that. And then the vet came and got me in a hurry, and they said the x-rays show that Papa has a lot of gas, and that his stomach was, they didn't use the word torsion, but they used the word like something beginning with I, like involuting, but that wasn't the word. So they said, we want to relieve the gas in his stomach by putting a needle in his side. And I said, I want to see him first. And so she said, oh, okay, I'll see. So then she brought me out the back so I could just say hello to him first. And they were actually pretty much already starting the procedure. And then one of them are like, okay, you have to go now. And then I could see the head vet or whoever was just like, it's fine, just she can stay there. Hi, Daisy. And so they did this needle, and I could see all the air coming out, filling the cannula of the syringe. So anyway, needless to say, at this point, it was very clear that kind of Papa wasn't going to make it. And I said to them, I had already told them that the way I live my life and my philosophical beliefs is that I don't, my personal beliefs is that I feel that I don't have that it's not my decision to make for when anyone should take their last breath. And so I know I'm in the minority, but I can't euthanize the animals in my care. And so I looked at them though at this point, and I'd already mentioned that to them, and I said, this is the moment that normally most people would euthanize, and they're like, yep. So I said, okay. So we put him back in the oxygen chamber, and he was laboring. So I had my arms in the chamber, and I found that if I just placed one hand under him, right on his heart, his chest and his heart, like I could feel his beating heart in my hand, that was very soothing to him. And then another hand, I don't know, I had like around him in his cheek, and then he just like totally leaned into me. And then if I moved a little bit, you could see he didn't like that. So I just stayed very still and held him. And after about 20 minutes, I wanted to get sort of closer to him. So I opened the door to the oxygen chamber, and I was like, I swear I nearly crawled in that contraption with him. And then after about 5 minutes, the vets came over and said, it's not good for the machine to have the door open. I said, well, turn the oxygen off then. And so they did that, and then they said, well, do you want to go into the comfort room, put him on a wheeling table? And so I thought, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. So we got a table, came over, towels and things on it. And then, I wasn't sure whether to do that or not, because I could see he was near his last breath. But I decided, yeah, it'd be a good idea. Anyway, I made that decision. So as I was transferring him was when he gasped and took his last breath, and I put him down, and he just sort of, the end struggle was 15 seconds. It wasn't long. And then because of the way I've studied been in the Tibetan Buddhist study and practice for over 30 years. So there were mantras and special sand mandala and different things that I had to bless him. And so all of that was there. And we went into the comfort room, and I stayed with him for about 3 or 4 hours, I guess. And Antonia came, and that was great. So going back, why did he die? And this video is ridiculously long, and I don't know if anyone has hung in there with me. I was hoping to make this video take 5 minutes. I might actually reshoot it. Why he died, we don't know. So as I talked about it a little bit with the vets at Angel, but I was way too upset to really talk about much. But then I also got a chance to talk it over with Dr. Amber Lee at Wakefield the next day when I took Shirley, an HRN bun, for a checkup. So it seems that perhaps Papa had been experiencing partial obstruction when those days that he wasn't feeling well. That could be one reason why he was a bit flat and a bit off, not eating and drinking as much with as much gusto. And then this is just, I guess, a theory, but Dr. Amber Lee thought it was very possible. So then perhaps by Sunday morning, when he really didn't want his pellets, he had obstructed. I don't know why he drank water though, but anyhow, maybe to tell me to go. I don't know. It's so bizarre to me, because if he hadn't drunk any water, then I probably would have stayed home. So, and then maybe the stress from his obstruction then brought out the EC symptoms, because we know stress can bring that out. Where the temperature comes from, who knows, but some infection, obviously, I guess, and perhaps there had begun some toxicity, something from the gut that created a systemic infection. I decided I did not want to get a necropsy. I didn't want to do that. With one other bunny, another bunny that I had, Ahimsa, some of you will remember, who got a boo-boo when her puddle unbonded, and she died under anesthesia, and we did a necropsy and discovered she had a thymoma. But I decided I didn't want to do this necropsy to King Papa. So that's the best guess, and if anyone else has any theories on what happened, I'd be really interested to hear. I know that a lot of people on the Facebook, encouraged me to take him straight to Angel when I discovered the high temp. And part of me, really lives with that, knowing I made the decision not to, and that if I had taken him to Angel as soon as I discovered his temp was very high, whether he'd still be with us. So there's no way to know. If it was an obstruction, I guess, well, anyway, I don't know. Maybe he would still be with us if I had taken him. But I don't know. We don't know. And I didn't want to. There was some reason why. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because I was concerned they wouldn't let me stay. And I did not want to separate from him. Anyway, I had this reason I didn't take him. So, yeah. All right. So, oh, Daisy, you're washing your face, darling. Yeah, that's what happened, isn't it, sweetie? And now you're washing your face and you're very shy. Yeah, and I gave you a couple more stuffies, didn't I? Hi, lovey. Yeah, I'm going to spend more time with you. And look, Auntie Janet bought some nice Herb Timothy hay for you. Is she? Yeah, you want to come? Look, it's got some nice chamomile. Oh, lovey. All right. Thanks, everyone. You guys are awesome.